What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. And tonight, this morning, whatever it is, we're currently ripping this at 2:22 in the morning on March 22nd. A lot of twos here. JD Martinez, Julio Daniel Martinez, formally, if you're gonna call him that, is now a New York Met. And James, I know you just had a night on the town. What are the thoughts going through the head here when you see JD Martinez is signed?
You almost dropped like Julio Dan to Martinez. You almost said that right there. You almost dropped the extra two inside of his name. But it's awesome. This is what Mets fans have been wanting this whole offseason. You guys wanted the real DH. You wanted the real cleanup hitter. You wanted somebody else in the lineup with real power. You wanted protection for Pete Alonso. It's amazing the Mets did this. It's shocking that there's a significant free agent signing in the middle of March Madness on a Thursday evening. I would have expected that at the beginning of the offseason. But the Mets just did something that probably somewhat significantly altered their playoff odds. And that's something that's like truthfully and it's honestly, and it's like, it's weird to say this about a 36-year-old going at 37, but this is something that happened that probably could change the complex weirdly of the Mets season in like a very non-exaggerated way, non-hyperbolic. It is significant because it changes something about the team.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've been a little bit coy about our feelings of bringing in JD Martinez on this podcast. We've always said he's going to help this team, but we weren't necessarily screaming from the mountaintops that we need to get JD Martinez. But that being said, now that he's here, I'm excited. I'm super excited. I'm super happy. He completely changes that whole who hits four conversation now in the lineup. Here it is. It's JD Martinez.
Just
JD
ended.
Martinez is hitting fourth. We don't have to fucking talk about whether Jeff McNeil's the right guy, whether Brandon Nimmo's the right guy. It's JD Martinez every single day hitting fourth in that lineup. You can have the protection now behind Pete Alonso that every Met fan so desperately wants. This is a move that now takes this lineup and makes it look really, really dangerous, especially because now you just get to move some other hitters down the order. It adds a lot of depth, and that's something I think that Mets fans have been dying for. You look at what the DH has done over the last couple seasons for the Mets, and they've had some of the worst performances statistically out of the DH position in terms of OPS in baseball. They've just been bad. They have not been very good. So to get a guy like JD in there, who as long as all things go the way it should, could be a 30-plus home run guy.
It's also funny because we said in the last episode, like, it seems like the Mets are going to be in the market for somebody because DJ Stewart looks like shit. G-Man Choi is not good. Luke Voigt is not good. Like, and like Mark Vientos looks okay, but he didn't like take the job by the horns. He didn't grab it. He didn't demand it. So it felt like there was going to be something that happened. And we found out from Andy Martino, like, as the contract was being signed, that the Mets were only going to sign JD Martinez if it became what did he say? Like irresistible, something like weird and
Yeah.
scrumptious, Andy Martino vibes, where it was like, they have to take it. They can't not take it. Man, Andy Martino. But it just became the fact that the Mets got an offer for $4.5 million, with the rest of it being deferred. So it's a real contract value. It was 1 for 12, but really it's like 1 for 9.5 or like 1 for 10. And even if you're doubling that because you have to, because we're over the third level luxury tax for JD Martinez for possibly 30 home runs, a 280 batting average, and a 125 WRC plus, 25% better than league average, like, it's a little bit silly not to take that when your projected DH is like hopefully 100 WRC plus. Hopefully a guy's going to be in the lineup every day. Hopefully not someone you have to send down to the minor leagues. Like, that's kind of what it comes down to. And it's at the end of the day, it's like there's tons of risk on JD Martinez, which I guess we'll talk about after we're really excited for the next 5 minutes, but it's an easy decision. I'm happy it's one that the Mets wound up making.
Yeah, you look at the good stuff. You mentioned all those numbers, but even looking at the like MLB Baseball Savant percentile rankings in terms of average exit velo last year, 98th percentile, 93.4%. Barrel rate was 98th percentile at 17.1%, which is disgusting. Hard hit rate, 55.1%, 98th percentile. Sweet spot rate, 97th percentile, 41% rate. There's a lot of red in the stuff that matters. Now, there are some negatives to his game, and again, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but he's a guy who last year really seemed to sell out for power, pulled the baseball a lot more than he has in his previous years in his career because he's been a guy with power to right center field. And that's something that I think will play better now at Citi Field. Because if you went to right center, going to be tough to put up some numbers there. But pulling it down the line in left field, we've seen some sluggers do that. Guy like Pete Alonso, really, really excited for what this could bring. We just threw 30 home runs into this lineup at a position where we thought, fingers crossed, we get 15 or 20.
And last year, the Mets, as DHs on the team, 95 WRC plus, worse than league average. The year before, 2022, 98 WRC plus, lifted up by Daniel Vogelbach, but still worse than league average. You even go back to 2021, which was This is actually hilarious. That was not there was no DH in 2021, right, in National League. It wasn't official yet. Or was it?
No, that was the last year that they hit, I believe.
Okay, because funny, the Mets actually 41 position plate appearances for a DH in 2021, 168 WRC plus, the highest in Major League Baseball, which is probably just Pete Alonso hitting a fucking bunch of home runs. But it changed it. The Mets didn't have that many guys in the lineup with 30 home run power. The Mets didn't really even have four good hitters in the lineup. We love Francisco Alvarez. We think he's going to be a great baseball player, but it seemed like there was still plenty of risk on his profile for 2024. And now this just adds into it. It's just it seems like it was easy. It's almost weird. It's almost suspicious to me that nobody else was willing to give JD Martinez any contract with any money deferred coming off the amazing season he just had with the Dodgers. But I guess we'll just take it. And the worst case scenario, if he sucks, it's a 1 year contract. Who the fuck
Caught
cares?
him.
It's just now we have the upside of JD Martinez, who's never been bad for a decade, just in the middle of the lineup. Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Yeah, sounds great to me. Super excited with this. John Heyman just completely pulled a fast one on us. Just was not ready for it. Like you said, watching March Madness, I was mourning my loss with the South Carolina Gamecocks still, and we're sitting with Ernie and Drew in my apartment. And Ernie's like, "Oh my God, the Mets just signed JD Martinez." I was like, "Shut the fuck up!" And then I checked Twitter, and it was all over the place. I think Mets fans across the board should be happy about this move. I don't really know how you couldn't be. If you're all you fucking David Stearns haters out there, is this enough? Is this the move that you wanted? Are you going to finally shut the fuck up that this guy knows what he's doing? Because he just got someone who hit 35 home runs and 900 OPS for $4.5 million this year. Like, please trust the guy.
Shout out Twitter God. I think NYYWRLD. Sorry guys, I've been out. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. But he
A
Addison
little drunk.
Yankees on Twitter. Yeah, a little drunk, having some fun. But JD Martinez was a significantly better hitter than Justin Turner last year, over the last couple of years. And he just signed for less money than Justin Turner. And the guy, again, more ceiling, less money, more money deferred, less present value. It just seems like if this contract was signed in the middle of January, Mets fans would have been kissing David Stearns' feet. And now the fact that it was signed on March 22nd, and I don't know, I feel like JD Martinez is kind of like a get out of bed and start hitting guy. I don't think he's not going to be ready for opening day. I don't know. This feels kind of amazing. Like it was a moment where the Mets might have looked around the National League and were like, all right, shit, the Padres just traded for Dylan Cease. Okay, fuck the Giants just signed Blake Snell. Like our main competitors for the wild card spots in the National League.
Diamondbacks got better.
Well, I mean, Eduardo Rodriguez just got hurt. I'm a big Diamondbacks hater this year.
Oh,
I
did he
think
really?
Diamondbacks are not going to be very. Yeah, he did. He left to start spring training start a few days ago. So there, you had to get better in these teams that just got better in front of you, and there was a very obvious spot to do it. The biggest weakness in this Mets team was probably just lacking one more middle of the lineup power bat. And they were like, we could just solve this very easily. Like the report came out a few weeks ago that we kind of poo-pooed on this show that Steve Cohen was willing to spend the money for JD Martinez, that they were engaged in talks. We were like, all right, there's no way that's true. It doesn't seem like it's true based on the tenor of the offseason. But we've talked about the fact that JJ Martinez was probably seeking 2 years coming off a 30 home run season with the Dodgers. And now it wasn't going to happen. So now he gets a 1 year offer. And the 1 year offer, we're like, we're still not ready to do it. And now suddenly it's a $5 million 1 year value. We're like, that's very easy for someone who we think is going to hit 30 home runs to have a 260 average.
Might look back and be like, oh wow, well, one of the best contracts given out all offseason. The Mets got that kind of production for $5 million.
It's just a world where like this might have changed our playoff odds from like 20% to like 35% or 40%,
Yeah,
where now we're
no,
suddenly
definitely much better.
after the Giants and the Padres got significantly better, and National League Central got a lot better for the last few weeks too. Now we're back in the mix. Like we could really be a playoff team. This lineup is, I'll go as far as saying good right now, legitimately good.
Good.
Up and
Yeah.
down, 1 through 7, it's fucking good. If Brett Baty keeps hitting like he's been hitting this spring, it's really good. And then you have Harrison Bader just playing center field. Like this is suddenly a baseball team that you probably aren't super excited to pitch against.
No, definitely not. And the biggest question will be health, will be pitching, will be consistency from this team. It will be if the young guys can step up, like you said, with Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos and Francisco Alvarez, if Jeff McNeil can have the bounce back, if Starling Marte. There's still a lot of ifs. We're not telling you that this is the move that now makes the Mets a playoff favorite by any means, but just the idea that there's now more consistency, more things that you can depend on a little more reliably in this lineup is going to be a great thing. And I don't even think we need to tell you guys that. You guys wanted JD Martinez all along.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to like tell people like we're a playoff team. I just gave you the ceiling as a
Yeah.
40% playoff team. Like that's the Messed Up Podcast. We're gonna give you some vibes, we're gonna give you some emotion. We're also gonna give you a guided statistical take because it's still the truth. This team still has holes.
Do you think that this was also a little bit of the Mets being like, you just gotta make the playoffs. This, like, playoffs are a crapshoot here. Like, get to the playoffs and see what damage we can do. Like, let's worry about the playoffs when we have to worry about it. Right now, getting a guy like JD, like you said, just bumps up the odds even more.
Totally. I even think past that is kind of the fact that we, again, people don't want to admit it, but we still have an owner who's like, I would like to win games if winning games is a
Yes.
possibility. And probably over 50% of Major League Baseball right now is like, I would rather just have wins at the dollar cost value I want to have them at rather than like, I just want to play ball. And this is significant because we are over the third level of luxury tax. It's probably a good signal for next year in free agency where the Mets could go between a Juan Soto, a Pete Alonso, Corbin Burns, Alex Bregman, all the guys in the free agency market next year, where it's just like, I want to win baseball games. If I can win baseball games without, I think, it fully endangering the future of my ball club, like I'm going to do it. And this is a deal where it was like, I can get a 1 year deal for a guy that hits 30 home runs every single season. Like that is a good deal for me. The guy who had a 98th percentile barrel rate last season, a guy who just like, that's it. Like this is a good deal.
Now, I will tell you, Mets fans at home, he's going to strike out a ton. He struck out 31% of the time last year. He whiffed
Yeah.
34% of the time. That's some of the lowest in Major League Baseball in
Well said.
terms of those percentile rankings.
Highest
But it's
of
because he
percentile.
sold out, or yeah, yeah. But it's because he sold out for power. He sold, which I know he's a power hitter always, but again, he had it to all fields. Last year, he pulled the ball significantly more. Majority of his home runs were still hit to left field. And this is a guy who's going to do a lot of damage.
That's the part I'm a little bit like out to throw cold water, be a little concerned with because the Dodgers have this secret sauce for hitting, and JD Martinez was a Dodger last year. They can coax more out of most hitters than other teams in the league, and the fact that JD went there and last year in fewer than 500 plate appearances had 33 home runs with a 570 slug, a 900 OPS, like that's kind of disgusting. That's a lot of things, and City Field it does weird things to hitters, does bad things to hitters. I'll even go as far as saying the jet streams from LaGuardia, the wind from the ocean, the batter's eye with the apple. We do bad things in our stadium to hitters that we can't really even quantify in like statistical baseball terms. So I'm worried that a guy like JD Martinez, who's been making a living in bandboxes for the last 7, 8 years, comes to the field and maybe the home runs go from 33 to 27. And then Mets fans freak the fuck out because it's not a 30 home run guy anymore. I don't know. That part scares me. And the strikeouts scare me. The fact that he's 36 years old, the Dodgers were like, we don't really actually want you that badly, but Shohei Ohtani occupied DH, but still nobody has seemingly offered this guy a contract, took a $5 million 1 year contract technically with deferred money. That part's weird to me, but I'm not going to let that dull my current excitement of the fact that the Mets intentionally want to make the playoffs.
Yes, yeah, this is a sign that we're trying to win, and I think for a lot of Mets fans, that's just kind of what you want to hear at this point because you probably think there's a group of Mets fans that felt like they didn't do anything to try and win this offseason. They just tried to exist.
It'd be funny if like the 1 year contracts of JD Martinez and Luis Severino give the Mets a situation where they have to make a decision for the qualifying offer next year. We're like, oh my God, JD Martinez had a 140 WRC plus and 37 home runs, and Luis Severino pitched 160 innings with 3.5 ERA. And now we have to offer it to one of these guys we do not know who.
He surely got a qualifying offer before JD Martinez. I don't know if you can give it to him again, right?
No, but you think he did? Check if he did. He's seen a
How
DH
can
type
where can I
like
check
that.
this?
I don't know.
Because he
You,
did.
you probably have to go year by year through MLB.com's free agency listing because they do the
Ah, it's gonna
qualifying
be
offer
tough.
shit every
All
year.
right,
Just Google JD
I'll take a look.
Martinez qualifying offer, but try it because
Yeah, JD Martinez.
I don't know. Again, I'll do the pessimism shit right now while you're searching this, but there's not no risk here because again, JD Martinez is 36, turning 37 in a few months. JD Martinez had one of the worst whiff rates in baseball last year. He had one of the worst chase rates in baseball last year. He had one of the worst strikeout rates in
Does not
baseball
have
last
one.
year. That's what I'm saying. It's possible. I'm telling you right
Yeah,
now.
Dodgers did not extend it to him.
To me, Astros. Check Astros for a couple years ago.
No,
But
I'm looking at if the Dodgers didn't extend it, that means that he
oh,
never
that means it
got one
was an
before because you
option.
can't
Yeah,
get.
okay. That's
Yeah.
true. You're right. But this isn't without risk. There's definitely a world, and I'm not going to tell you it's a likely world. I'm going to tell you it's something possible where the whole bottom falls out from JJ Martinez, and he just stinks. Like it's possible. I don't think it's going to happen because he hit the ball so fucking hard last year. 98th percentile in barrel rate, 98th percentile in exit velocity, 98th percentile in hard hit rate. A lot of 98s right there. 100's the best. 98, really, 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 really fucking good. But really, he's just going to put the bat in the ball. He's going to hit it really hard. But then the other side, JJ Martinez, which I think is the way we should spend the last few minutes here before we end, is that this has now taken Mark Viento's spot, basically. And
Yes.
this is probably a signal from the front office to Mark Vientos, to the team, to the league in a way that we didn't think he was good enough to be the designated hitter for a playoff caliber team. And now he's somewhere in no man's land. Maybe it depends on Brett Baty right now. Again, we've been talking about Brett Baty a lot. He had another home run on Thursday. He hit the ball over 105 miles an hour 3 times. He's not striking out. He keeps walking. Things seem to be happening well for Brett Baty, but if Mark Vientos isn't good enough at defense to platoon with Brett Baty at third base, he's definitely not as good of a hitter as JD Martinez. This contract, while it's a really good thing, it probably does put him in no man's land, which I don't know
I
if
don't
that's
know. I don't think it does because you're looking at the Mets bench right now, and he is the second righty bat besides Tyrone Taylor. So like on the bench right now on Fangraphs with JD Martinez on the team, it's Omar Narvaez, Vientos, Wendell, Taylor. Like who's
yes.
missing from there? That would get it. Like
Oh,
you're not going to put DJ Stewart and be the third
oh no,
left-handed
that
bat.
that is the bench. But I'm saying is like now he's been relegated to being a bench player instead of someone who we thought
Gotcha.
was going to
Okay,
get like
I
400
thought you were
plate
saying
appearances. He went from
okay. I
basically
thought you were saying
400 plate
step down.
appearances to like 200 plate appearances, or even
Yeah, and hey,
possibly
listen,
fewer.
maybe Mark Vientos being around JD Martinez could be a good thing. A guy who hits the ball hard, learn something from him. Maybe this is like a little bit too of like you're not ready, but we want you to figure it out a little bit around someone who's a perennial all star.
Or maybe it's like to save Mark Vientos because maybe Mark Vientos was JD Martinez before JD Martinez found his home. But when he was with the Astros before he went off to the before the Tigers before the Astros, what was it? Where the Astros before the Tigers. Whereas like now you're going to become a good baseball player. But or also the other part of this is maybe this just if they think Mark Vientos is suitable enough for third base, maybe this is a pure push. Mark Vientos versus Brett Baty. Only one of you guys can survive. Someone swim to the line first, and maybe that is it too. Like maybe it is, but now it's just there's a real cleanup hitter in the room. There's a real mid of the order bat in the room, and now the people who we think are competing to be players are now just competing with each other rather than having the jobs to themselves.
Correct. Yeah, and I mean Beatty's still not going to face left-handed pitching, so Vientos will play against those
No,
guys too. I'm assuming at third base.
yeah,
So that platoon as well. It's a good move. It's a good move. I'm excited about this. Got me a little buzzed for the season. Just a week away now, less than a week away. When you guys are listening to this in the morning, hopefully on Friday morning, less than a week away from opening day. Mets got JD Martinez. Exciting stuff in what has been a very, very boring like week and a half leading up to the opening day, which me and you have both joked about. We're just so I can't watch spring training baseball anymore. I'm so ready for real games.
does this truth feel like in your heart of hearts like give you more of a chance you think for the Mets to make the playoffs?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I think that I still think they're the third best team in the National League East. I don't put them ahead of the Phillies. I don't put them ahead of the Braves, obviously. But adding JD Martinez does do something to this lineup that may not be able to be explained yet, but I think it's something that you could see happening during the season where you're like all of a sudden this is a tough lineup to face. Like 1 through 9, you don't really get a break outside of like Harrison Bader, who still like even gets on base at a pretty decent clip at times. So while it might not be like murderers row like the Braves or the Dodgers or even the Padres at points, even though they have some crazy bad players like Tyler Wade in their lineup, like 1 through 9, there are 9 professional hitters in this lineup, and you can't say that about necessarily every team in baseball.
I mean, think about it. Let's go like 1 through 9. Nimmo, Lindor, Alonso, Martinez, maybe McNeil to split up the righties. Then you have McNeil, 5, Alvarez, Marte, Beatty, Bader.
It's a really good lineup.
It's really not that bad at all. It's something that again, like I don't think other pitchers will be excited to face that lineup. I think that's a situation where I don't think it's a lineup that can necessarily carry a team to the playoffs, but I think it's a lineup that can win you a lot of games you maybe should not have won. And now, as we're talking about this, the Braves are going to win the NL East, whatever. The Phillies are a leg up above most of the teams in the National League. So then it's the Mets versus whoever does not win the Central, whatever dog shit team still grabs themselves to 84 wins, whether it not be the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Reds, or the Brewers. And then it's because Dodgers are going to win the West. It's the Giants, it's the Padres, and it's Diamondbacks. And it's a dogfight for 2 spots between whatever those basically 5 teams, 6 teams, depending on if the Marlins are okay or if multiple Central teams are over 500. It's a dogfight. It's a dogfight. The Padres already have 1 win. The Giants just signed Blake Snell, and Farhan Zaidi seems like he's on like a 1 year thing where he has to make the playoffs. It's a battle, and like the fact that the Mets made a stand today and said we are going to be in that fight rather than we'll be okay if we're in that fight or not is fun. And you know what else? Worst case scenario, if we suck ass and we're not in the fight, fucking trade JD
Tear it down.
Martinez. Send them out. Send JD Martinez out for another Marco Vargas. Give me another Jeremy Rodriguez. I don't care. Like it's probably a little bit better than Tommy Pham, but it's like it's a little bit more fun as well.
Yeah, definitely. No, this is a good move all around. Mets fans, you should be excited, and I think you are. If there are any of you that are listening to this and you're like, "Oh, JD Martinez, I'm so pissed about this," like I don't know what to tell you at this point. You've got to be miserable. Like, what happened in your life where you can't enjoy things?
It's probably the Mark Vientos stance. It's people who are like, I want Mark Vientos to get the full
He's the
shot of
only
it.
person who should be sad.
But it's also just like there was a year where like we're gonna give youth a chance. We're gonna give youth a chance. We're gonna make see what we have in there. And like this is probably a move where like they're not really doing that. They're saying I want to increase our playoff odds right now by about 5 to 10% in lieu of giving Mark Vientos a chance. But they know a lot more about Mark Vientos than any of us do. They're much more aware of his shortcomings, his strengths, his weaknesses than we are. And I still think he probably can be an acceptable Major League Baseball player. But they were also like, I don't know, he can't play defense, and it maybe hits the ball kind of hard sometimes. Like, what's the ceiling there? A 2-win player? Are we saving? Are we going to put a whole season aside for a 2-win player? Once the JD Martinez money got low enough, they're like, what's the downside of this? And there really is not much of one.
Great move by the Mets. Great move by David Stearns. Absolutely love it. Guys, that will be it for this emergency episode of the Mets'd podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to follow us on our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd podcast YouTube channel if you want to see the video version of this. And if you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever it is, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. Follow James at
James_Shiano.
and me at Giraffe Nick Mark with a C. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out.
Peace out. See you guys next time.